Our next talk, I'm so excited for because, as I mentioned, I'm like, wow, I'm all mic'd up. 3. But the next talk is very dear to my heart because when I first heard about it, it changed the game for me. When I first heard of a term called appreciative inquiry, I was in Cleveland, or I don't even know where I was, in San Diego or something, and I heard someone speaking about it, and I was moved to the core. You know when you hear something and it just like drops in, you're like, what is that? And I knew that I had to learn more. So after 2 years of learning about the appreciative inquiry, I invited and got to learn more about its approach. And the approach is actually world-renowned. And so I'm excited to bring to you Jeff Bouwman, and he's the co-founder of Adaptive Growth Training Systems and a LEAF-certified facilitator for the Flourishing Leadership Institute. The FLI team has designed and facilitated whole system change efforts through large group collaborative summits for Fathom, Boeing, Facebook, BMW, Western University, London Life, and large-scale online communities. Jeff is an author, speaker, financial educator, mastermind facilitator, and a director at Western University in London. Anybody from London in the house? Okay, Toronto love, Toronto love. And he has designed and delivered events in a variety of small group settings and in large, high-stakes situations. Jeff's background in strategic thinking and execution planning allows him to work with a variety of organizations in summit design and delivery, along with post-summit deployment. Jeff is also a CPA and most passionate about appreciative inquiry to change the way in which individuals, organizations, and communities identify and execute the goals that matter most. Tomorrow on day 2, how many people are coming to day 2? The workshop day? Amazing. We're actually going to roll our sleeves up and really do an appreciative inquiry on some of the topics that were spoken about today for the city. And I'm so excited to bring him on to actually have you learn about a different thinking that can be applied in many different areas of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jeff Bouwman.
May you have auspiciousness and causes of success. May you have the confidence to always do your best. May you take no...
Hello, Toronto. Okay, normally when I'm facilitating, there's a ton of energy in the room, so I'm going to try to create it. Is there any way we can dim these lights and bring the lights up so I can actually see people? I want to see your beautiful faces. So, that's better. I'm here today to introduce to you a concept called appreciative inquiry. And appreciative inquiry is really about asking questions. And so I thought, what better way to talk about appreciative inquiry than to start with a question? And so the question I want to start with is, how might we identify and implement the goals that matter? The goals that are going to solve our biggest problems. If I say it differently, how might we revolutionize the way we identify and implement the goals that matter? This is one of the questions that inspires the work that I do, and it's why I go to work every day. So, in order to understand that, who has a question that drives their work, right? I need to give you a little bit of background. I spent about 13 years in automotive business, and my role as an executive there was strategic thinking, business planning, execution, and deployment. And so what that really meant was every year, I would sit down with a select few number of people. And we would work on what are our strategic priorities for the coming year? What are the things that matter most to us? Then we go through and we did identify, okay, these are the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6 goals that we want to work on as an organization, and some actions that we thought would drive that. From that point forward, what we did was we spent all of our time trying to convince people why those goals were important. We spent all of our time trying to convince people that they needed to take action towards them. At the end of the day, we spent all of our time trying to convince people. And it wasn't until after I left that company that I was actually sitting in the same conference that Teresa was talking about. And the person facilitating that conference was using an approach called appreciative inquiry. So he was leading with experiential and appreciative facilitation. And so remember that term, LEAF. Because at the end of the conference, I walked up to that individual and I said, John, I'm so inspired by what happened here at this event. I want to sign up to your training. And he said, that's great, Jeff. Come to Cleveland, Ohio. And my energy deflated. But I went anyway. So between the time of that one conference and the training, I started to learn about appreciative inquiry, and I started to implement some of those things into the work that I was doing. and I saw some pretty amazing results. Well, it was at the end of the training, the appreciative inquiry training. I was sitting down with a colleague of mine at dinner, and someone I met a year before in Philadelphia, and we were talking about the work that we were doing. And he said, Jeff, of all the work that you're doing right now with individuals, with businesses at the university, what's the work that's making you come alive? What a beautiful question. What's the work that's making you come alive? What are you most excited about for the future? And I looked at him and I said, Andrew, this is the work that I'm most excited about. I'm most excited about leading with experiential and appreciative facilitation. I'm most excited about asking powerful questions and designing conversations so that we can implement the goals that matter most. Because what I'd seen in that short window is that people using this approach could implement the goals that mattered in a faster and more natural way than anything I had seen before. Okay, so who starts their day with a question like that? In order to explain that, I think this chart is important. This graph is really important. And nobody would argue that technology today is changing at a rapid pace. It's actually changing at an exponential rate, right? Technology is perhaps changing faster than change itself. And Astro Teller at Google X probably said it best. He said, technology for the first time is probably changing faster than we as humans are able to adapt to it. And what I believe, if that's true, what we need more than ever today is an innovation in human technology. Not artificial intelligence, but natural intelligence. We need a process that brings everyone's voice into the room so that we can solve real problems by giving everyone a voice. And I believe appreciative inquiry does that. So where did appreciative inquiry come from? It came from an individual named David Cooperrider, and he's from Cleveland, Ohio. Hence the reason I went to Cleveland. He's from Cleveland, Ohio, and about 30 years ago, believe it or not, he was working at Case Western University, and he was called into the Cleveland Clinic because they were dealing with some really complex challenges and they couldn't come up with solutions. And so as he sat in that room with a bunch of consultants and a bunch of leaders, what he realized really quickly is that all of their conversations were focused on what was wrong, what was broken, and what was missing. And David thought to himself, what if there was a different way? What if there was a different way? Instead of focusing on what was wrong, what was broken, or missing, what if we asked questions about when we've been at our best? What if we asked questions that tapped into our strengths? What if we asked questions about our most inspiring future? Because David believed that we move in the direction of our conversations, and that our conversations are guided by the questions that we ask. And so in that moment, appreciative inquiry was born. If I try to say it as simply as possible, because when I tell people I'm going to talk about appreciative inquiry, usually the response is, what? So what is appreciative inquiry in its simplest form? Appreciative inquiry is the search through questions for the best of what was, the best of what is, and the best of what could be in any human system. Right? We've been using this with many types of organizations and seen remarkable results. I believe appreciative inquiry is an innovation in human technology, and we need a lot more of it. So today I want to introduce you to a few of the types of questions that we ask with appreciative inquiry and give you some real-life examples of where they've been used. So the first type of question we ask with appreciative inquiry is a question that connects us to our purpose. A question that connects us to our why. Because what we've understood is that the magic really happens when the why becomes clear, the how will reveal itself. More importantly, if you can connect a group of people to a shared purpose, you take what's possible and you make it probable. A really good example of this was a community of dads from around the world. The Dad Edge community is about 15,000 fathers from around the world. They wanted to bring together a group of men to talk about how do you create a flourishing family. And so they called these 100 men together from all over the world, centered around that one question. But what happened over those 3 days was that they all connected to a shared purpose. They all connected to the purpose of being the best husband, the best father, the best family person they could be. And they started to model something different. They started to create a movement, and that tribe is flourishing today. Okay, the second type of question that we like to ask with appreciative inquiry is a question that connects us to our strengths. A question that connects us to high point moments, moments when we've been at our best. And a really good example of this one is BMW, the autonomous driving division of BMW. Some would argue, a group of the smartest engineers in the world are working on technology that's 20 and 30 years out into the future. What they realized is that they needed to connect humans to that technology that they were developing. And in order to do that, they had to change their conversations. So they brought in lead facilitators to help them design new ways of talking to each other so they could tap into the human strengths that they have. And the final question I want to introduce you today is a question that connects you to images of the future. What we've learned is that if you can connect people, a group of people especially, to images in the future, what happens is the actions and behaviors today start to unfold. And a really good example of this, and it kind of sums up appreciative inquiry really well, is the fly community, the leaf community, was called into Facebook. When Facebook was dealing with probably its most publicized challenge earlier this year, who did they call in? They called in appreciative inquiry experts to help them design new images for the company in the future. And what they did with those 100 people across multiple industries is they connected to images of the future where Facebook was having a positive impact on people, on society, and on the world. It was truly remarkable. So appreciative inquiry is live and well and is working in companies. It is a human innovation. This is a picture from the Facebook workshop itself. So when I look around the room, and that's why I wanted the lights up today, when I look around this room, I'm inspired. I'm inspired by a community of people that are all connected to a shared purpose around people, planet, and prosperity. A community of people that's already cross-collaborating. A community of people that understands we need the whole system if we're going to make fundamental change. A whole system where everybody has a voice because your voice matters. Our voices matter. And so what I want to do is leave you today with a challenge. That's actually two challenges. The first challenge I want to leave you with is, most of the time, if you're like me, when you come to a conference like this, you have a list of people that you're going to seek out. These 2 or 3 people with 30,000 or 3 million views, whatever it is these days, that you're going to seek out and want to talk to. But what I would encourage you, because I've learned through appreciative inquiry, the wisdom is always in the room and it's right around you. So as you sit in your seats, as you start networking this afternoon, reach out and have conversations with the people that are around you. The people that are in this room that have a shared purpose. Ask questions about their why. Tap into their strengths, because you don't know together what you can do until you have those conversations. And the other challenge I want to leave with you is, as you go to work on Monday, as you sit down at the dinner table with your families, as you enter the boardroom, as you go into your next planning meeting at work, us as all leaders, we need to bring appreciative inquiry into our workplace. Because businesses don't have to be just best in the world, they can be best for the world. I really do believe what David Cooperrider says is that we can change this world one conversation at a time. Thank you.